Now year 2. Today, as part of our watercolour techniques module, we're going to do this watercolour picture, and we're going to use a technique called wax resist. This is when we use either an oil pastel or a crayon to make the outline of the picture, and then we use watercolour or drawing ink over the top, and it creates this lovely effect. We are also going to be using the salting technique, where we add salt, and you can see on this picture the effect the salt has made of dots, and it's made a good texture on the paper. Okay, so if you are at home, you will continue to use your watercolours. If you are at school, you are going to be using your drawing inks, okay? Now, I'm going to demonstrate how to do this using the drawing inks, but let me just remind those children at home how you need to mix up your watercolours. So remember, you wet the brush, you wet the paint, get the paint nice and wet, and then you mix it straight onto the palette, and you need to keep adding more and more water, more and more paint, so that you can then paint onto the paper. Okay, so you should have a good blob, and then you can add more water, and then you will be ready to paint onto your paper. Okay, a nice thick colour. Okay, that's just a reminder, children at home, if you're using watercolour. But today in this lesson, we're going to use drawing ink at school. Okay, so let me clean off my brush and we'll get started. So the first thing you need to do, year 2, is let me just remind you that on the Firefly page today, there is a picture of a jellyfish like this, and this is just to help you out if you want some ideas about how to go about drawing your jellyfish, okay? So, I'm going to take my piece of cartridge paper. You will be using your sketchbook, of course, and I've got my white crayon. And the first thing I'm going to do is, using all of the top half of the piece of paper, I'm going to draw a big bowl shape like that. Now, I know that you can't see that very well, year 2. So what I'm going to do is, you're going to be using white pastel, but for the purposes of me showing you what to do, I'm going to go over my white pastel in black, just so you can see what you need to do. And then what you're going to do is, you're going to add a frill at the bottom of that section, and the frill is going to also come down around here too. And then you're going to, in the middle, you're going to create lots of wiggly lines like this coming out of the jellyfish. Okay, and then it's time to add the legs. Spindly legs, okay, and they can go in lots of different directions. Now, once you have that shape, you can start to add pattern to the top of the jellyfish. So I'm going to go around the middle. I'm going to create, looks a bit like leaf patterns, and then I'm going to do lines that join at the bottom of the jellyfish, the bottom of the hat of the jellyfish, and I'm going to do dots. And there is the finished shape of my jellyfish. Now that's all left to do is, now I've used my wax, I'm now ready to paint on top of it, and you'll see the effect it creates. Okay, so let's try that now. Okay, now year 2. So if you're using watercolour at home, that's fine. Remember, you're mixing onto the palette. children at home, you're going to need your drawing inks, and both children at home and online, you will need a little bit of paint to make the texture on the jellyfish. So now your jellyfish is going to be red and yellow. So I'm going to paint the legs of the jellyfish with my drawing ink. So I'm painting it red, and then I'm mixing it with some other colours. So I'm mixing it with yellow. You can do just the legs, you don't need to paint all over. I'm going to add some more red. And I'm just adding bits of red, bits of yellow. It's up to you how you do it, okay? I'm then going to do the same into the body of my jellyfish. Now remember, if you are using watercolour, it's going to work just a little bit differently. So you will be mixing your paint onto your palette, and then you will be painting onto your jellyfish. Okay, you can mix the colours together, remember, to get a mix of things going on, okay? And then once you've painted either in watercolour or in drawing ink, you can choose a blue for the background and start to wash that blue across the paper. Now as you do that, once you've finished a small section, you can then take your salt, just a little bit of salt in your hand, and sprinkle it on to the paper, and you can see the effect that creates, little spotted effect on your work. So either using watercolour or using the ink, and then adding the paint afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to also say you can maybe add some greeny colours to the background as well. So remember to mix it on the palette first and then to add those in the background. But today I'm going to leave it very much up to you. How about you go about creating your jellyfish? So bye for now, Year 2. Good luck.